What's up, Fragrant World? Welcome back to another Stay Fresh production. As you can see, we're in Red Adolescent Studios, and I'm here with very special and honored guests. This is Steven, but people know who you are.
Thank you so much, Justin. I really appreciate that. Thank you for coming over.
Of course, thank you for having me. And today, I'm actually going to play a little bit of catch-up. There's a video topic I was tagged in, I think by Chris from Fragmental months ago, probably like 5 months ago at this point. It was a top 5 most challenging fragrances, and I just didn't have the time to really get those together. So it just happened to come up with me and Steven talking about it, and I decided, hey, how about we do it here together? And he definitely has a much deeper well of fragrances than I do, and especially those that might be considered challenging and daring. So he was very generous enough to lend these fragrances from his collection that we both kind of curated, and we have the list now, and it's going to be 10 instead of just 5. So you get an extra 5 to watch out for.
Yeah, and I guess it could kind of be like 5 and 5, because a lot of them you went through it and you were like, you know what, I have smelled these and I think they're deserving of being on the list. And so I'm excited, man.
Oh, me too.
But worried at the same time.
Yeah. And I will say that the number 1 on the list, I'm not going to tell you what it is. I haven't smelled it yet. So when we get to that, I'll be giving my live first impressions. So that'll be an extra little cherry on top added bonus at the end here.
That's what I'm secretly excited for.
Alrighty. So how about we hop into it?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So would you like to talk about the number 10, or you want me to talk about it?
How about you start off with us?
All right, cool. So the number 10 fragrance is one that I remember a few years ago, it started getting a little bit of traction in the community. I do find it to be a daring scent just because it's a beastly performer. But in the case of the way that it smells, I think that there are other far more daring fragrances on this list. And so when you see what the number 10 fragrance is, you're going to be like, wow, I can't wait to see what 9 through 1 is. But no, it's actually Black Afghano by Nasomato. It's coffee, a little bit of hemp, from what people say, like a cannabis thing going on. Not as strong as Smoke for the Soul by Killian, which is an honorable mention. But I think this is really nicely done composition by Alessandro Gottieri.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't have a lot of experience with this one. I know one that it is often compared to is the Gucci Intense Oud, which came out a few years ago. And I do have to say they're very close. But I really don't find it subjectively daring to me. But I can see how the average nose who hasn't maybe delved in this realm of scent profile might have a hard time finding it enjoyable. So I think it does deserve the 10th spot.
Absolutely. Cool. Awesome.
Alrighty. And at number 9, we placed a fragrance from the House of Le Labo, and this is called Oud 27 here. And this is yet another fragrance that I personally find pretty nice and pretty easy to smell, and maybe you would agree with that for yourself and your taste. Yeah,
it's actually the first Le Labo that I ever purchased, and there was just something about it that was so intriguing. I'm personally not offended by it. I don't find it to be overly skanky or animalic, but I can see how the average consumer would find this venturing into daring territory.
Definitely. And I'm not super keen on all the notes in this. Obviously, oud is a major component, and even just the mention of oud can be a deterrent for a lot of people. And you can definitely smell it here. It's there, but it is kind of on the cleaner side. It's not super medicinal. It's not too dark and skanky. It has some other notes that are balancing it out. But if you've never smelled oud, having this be the first one you smell may not be the greatest introduction.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's definitely not entry level.
Yes.
So number 8 on this list is a fragrance that the more I wear it, the more I like it. I know initially I was a little put off by it, and maybe I saw the bottle in the press release and I was like, this looks gorgeous. And then when I finally got my nose on it, I was like, oh, this is what it is. But the more I wear it, the more I actually do like it. And this is by Amouage, and it's called Fate Man. So I think the thing with this one is that it has that combination of cumin and immortelle. And I know when you include those spicy ingredients in the blend, it can certainly be off-putting to a lot of people, especially cumin, the way that it's used in Rose 31 by Le Labo. It's definitely off-putting for a lot of people, but if you like this sort of challenging, daring, spicy, extroverted nature about fragrances, I think Fate Man is one that people might actually really enjoy.
Yeah, I think it's pretty unique. I haven't smelled anything that smells like this. It is rich and complex, as you would expect from the house, for most of their fragrances. And if I'm not mistaken, immortelle can often come off as almost like curry in some ways. And I almost get that vibe from this. And unless you want to smell like curry, you might not be drawn to this fragrance, but there's so much more to it than that. We're getting a little bit more daring, as you can see, but still somewhere in the wearability spectrum here. But here it is at number 8.
Well said.
Yeah, and at number 7, we have a fragrance from Montal, and this is one I actually smelled for the first time today here, and I'm not sure if I can even say this. Oud Cure d'Arby. I'm saying that totally wrong, but I imagine it's leather oud.
And a little bit of like an animalic touch, like civet.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this one is unusual. It's, yet again, kind of unique. You may not have smelled anything that smells like this. All the notes, they kind of speak individually. They all are kind of laid out. It's like, yeah, I can detect leather. I can detect oud. Everything is there. It's not really hiding anything.
Right.
But, I mean, if you just think about leather and oud together, automatically you're like, whoa, that doesn't sound like it'll be pleasant. Yep. But there is something about it that it is kind of smooth and it doesn't come off too rough and tumble. And so I could consider myself maybe appreciating this, maybe testing it on my hand at home, but maybe not wearing it out of the house.
I know what you mean, Justin, especially with a lot of these niche fragrances. If we find them to be daring on our skin, we're like, you know what, I would wear this. I'm definitely intrigued by it. And as much as we might like it, we wouldn't necessarily recommend it for other people. And so I know curating this list was kind of difficult because it's like, okay, is this daring for us or is this daring for other people? And so kind of had to factor both of those things into the equation. So the next one on this list, so we have 10, 9, 8, 7. This is number 6. And so this is a fragrance that I personally find to be a little bit daring. This is actually the only designer on this list. I'm sure just saying that probably reveals what it is. But this is a pretty interesting composition by Alberto Morillas. However, I know it's not doing well in terms of sales, but this is one where if you are a fan of these style of fragrances, this is one that will pique your fancy. And so this is actually Gucci Guilty Absolute. It's definitely a very dark, sort of dirty vetiver, definitely rough and tumble with a leathery component as well.
For sure. And yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. This one, it's something that's kind of off the wall in terms of designer releases, especially from a house like Gucci, which had some history with some more interesting and creative scents that kind of diverted, went into more mass appealing territory. And now with their new creative director, I think it's Alessandro Michele, I think.
Yeah, Michele.
Michele. All right, thanks for correcting me.
No, it's fine.
He's kind of steering things kind of back towards maybe what Tom Ford was going for when he was there. And this is one that I personally, at least subjectively, I like this one. Not enough to wear it out. But if we're talking objectively, I cannot recommend this to people. They say, oh yeah, you're going to go to your nearest Macy's, and I don't even know if you can find this in department stores anymore. I haven't really seen it. It might even be discontinued. I heard that. I'm not sure if that's true.
I kind of heard that too, but I did check recently, and you can find it discounted online, like Fragrance X, Max Aroma, and so,
Yeah, so again, can't really recommend it. This is, as you can see, the halfway point, and we're crossing into that threshold of like these kind of cringy scents where if you smell it for the first time, I don't think your inclination would be like, oh, I need to buy this, or oh, I want to wear this out, or wear this to my date, or anything like that. Yeah. So things to watch out for.
While it might seem like the top 5 are punishment, it's definitely keeping in mind that, you know, while we might actually like some of them, it's going to be hard for us to recommend it. And so just keep that in mind.
Definitely. Alrighty, wonderful.
Cool.
Okay, here at number 5, yet another fragrance I had the distinct fortune, perhaps, of smelling for the first time today. This is Dark Lord from the House of Killian, and this came out last year, I think. It's relatively new. I'm honestly not even sure what's in this. We didn't talk about the notes, but this one is getting into that dirty, earthy, leathery territory. I mean, to me, when I first smelled it, I was immediately reminded of the Gucci Guilty Intense, but to the next level. So I don't know if you know anything about the actual note structure.
It's actually very similar notes.
Really?
You know, I think it also has like this, I remember speaking with Steve Asus, who is the US education for by Killian, and he told me it was kind of inspired by, I think it was Killian's father or grandfather, and it's almost like, you know, he's wearing Eau Sauvage by Dior, and then he kind of just like, he's sitting by a fireplace and there's like a smoky component, but it's a very rich sort of dirty vetiver, but it also has a leathery touch to it. And so I always imagine this being like the niche version of this. To be honest with you, I would rather wear this than this. And there's a part of me that really likes Dark Lord, but again, getting in front of the camera and recommending it to other people is something really hard to do.
Definitely. Well said. Yep. All right, what do we have next?
Okay, so the number 4 fragrance on this list is one that is regretfully for some discontinued, although I have heard that you can actually still purchase this from the Paris boutique. And this is one where Cody, I was watching his video, and he mentioned in his video a while back that when he put this on his hand, I think he tried it in a store, when he walked away, he basically said on camera that he thought he had stepped in crap, like dog crap. And he was like, where is this coming from? And then he realized that it was actually coming from what he had sprayed on his hand. So I don't know if that's a bit of a hyperbole, but
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, so this one from the House of Dior, I know I just have a travel size here, but this is Leather Oud.
That might be all you need, if anything.
Yeah. That name is the perfect name, I think.
Yeah, it's what you get. And again, I smelled this one for the first time today. And naturally for me at this stage of my journey, I put my nose on something and I try to like it immediately. That's my first inclination. But I don't like this. I cannot even appreciate this scent.
Fair enough.
Leather and nude. I don't know what else is in there, but it's not for me.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough.
Okay, so here at number 3, things are getting very challenging here.
Yeah.
New release from the house. This is maybe the second newest they put out. Maybe last year, maybe earlier this year. I don't quite remember now. Yeah. From the House of Zoologists, this is T-Rex. And man, I was really interested to try this one. I hadn't tried it yet. And I put my nose on it. And then Steven gave me a little bit of some of the backstory. And then it immediately opened up. The scent opened up in my mind. And it smelled like exactly what it sets out to do. And then I realized, like, I can't wear this. I can't recommend it. I can't wear it, but I can appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's kind of almost sulfuric to me in a way. There's something like very dark and almost tarry about it. It is, as you said, it has kind of this rose oxide accord in it, which almost brings a bloody nature to the scent. And I think, like many of the fragrances from the house, it paints the picture perfectly. The scent and what it's trying to portray. It's pretty fantastic. Very artistic, nothing less than that. Yeah. And it's going to be for those who are looking for art in the form of fragrance.
Exactly. And I think if you're familiar with the works of Antonio Gardoni and what he's done for Vogue, I think this is it falls in line with what you would expect. Yeah, very dark, rich, challenging for sure. But those who are in it for the artistic reasons will really appreciate this one.
Yeah.
So number 2 is another one that Justin tried for the first time today. So this is a brand that makes all natural fragrances with the exception of their animalic ingredients. So they are a vegan company. But this is one that utilizes a lot of birch tar. And for those of you who don't know, birch is one of those ingredients that can come across smelling very smoky, like a burning forest, burning leaves. And there is actually another fragrance by Christopher Brosi. It's called CB I Hate Perfumes Burning Leaves. And it actually smells like burning leaves, and it has a lot of birch tar in it. And so that's the reputation that ingredient holds. But this one is by Heretic Parfum, and it's called Poltergeist. And poltergeist, of course, means ghost. I was actually recently in a collaboration, and I mentioned this being a really good Halloween fragrance, just because it's so dark and scary, and it's tough. It's really tough.
And the Leather Oud from Dior, this is the first thing that comes to mind when I smelled that one was the Dior. And it's kind of in the same realm for me. I had to recoil when I first smelled it. And it wasn't even like, I didn't have a moment to say like, oh, do I like this?
Yeah.
My body just reacted. It's really tarry and it smells burnt, and it's really something that I can't recommend.
Oh, yeah.
Unless you are really looking to go off the deep end. I mean, as you can see, this is number 2. We're well deep into the well at this point. So if you're here with us, then maybe this is what you're looking for. But just so you know, be careful.
And look at the color of the liquid.
Yes.
Like, this definitely gives Black Afghano a run for its money. My goodness.
Yes, definitely.
Wow. Okay, so the number one fragrance you haven't smelled yet. So we're going to be spraying it fresh on camera.
Yes. And
I'm excited, nervous, eager, anxious, all of the above.
Okay. And you maybe you've already guessed it. This is from the house of Untitled Chapter. This is Secretions Magnifique. Now, if you have not heard of this fragrance, I guess what we can say is what the brand set out to do was recreate a mixture of the smells of certain bodily excretions. And they would call them very magnificent secretions. That's what the name translates to. So things like, I think, is it blood and semen and maybe saliva or milk, or I don't remember. Do you remember all the chords that
I know.
forth?
So the actual note breakdown is something like aldehydes, coconut, algae, lactonic notes, apopanax. So like they're notes that sound kind of pleasant, but the combination of it just makes it smell like either A, a wet dog, B, a rusty fence, or C, bodily fluids. And so I don't know of anybody that wants to smell like either A, B, or C.
I still have yet to hear of anyone who posts this as their scent of the day on Instagram or something like that.
Yeah.
So, as we said, I'm going to spray this now. Okay. And I don't know if you have any desire to re-smell this, so I'll do this away from you here.
I'll do it for solidarity reasons. Sure. If you're going to smell it, I'll smell it too.
I've got one good spray, no more than that.
Okay. All right.
And yet again, I've only heard about this. I've conceptualized it in my mind, so here we go.
Okay.
Okay.
So, it gets worse with time, yeah.
I'm sure it does. Okay. Wow. So what I have to say, my assessment of that, it actually goes in line with the first thing you said. That smells like a wet dog to me.
Okay.
And that is not a smell that I'm really fond of.
Oh my God, I can smell it from here. I haven't even brought it up to my nose. I don't know what you did, but okay.
I appreciate the solidarity.
It's... Yeah. This one is punishment.
Yeah.
This one is definitely punishment. Like if somebody said, okay, for the next 9 days, you have to wear 9 fragrances that are daring. And then there's one that would be excluded from that list. Secretion Magnifique is definitely the one excluded because I can't imagine myself putting on 2 or 3 hearty sprays of this and walking out into the world like, hey, I smell good today.
It's coming here.
Oh my God.
It's one of those things where it doesn't smell like a fragrance, so to speak. Like if you smelled this odor coming from someone, you might assume that is just what they smell like.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I wouldn't ask them, oh, what did you put on?
Yeah.
I would assume like, oh, you don't smell very good.
Have you showered recently?
Yes.
Like, what's up?
Wow. And it's really diffusing now. And
you want to give it another good smell?
Before we finish off, sure. It's worse. It's gotten stronger.
You know, when you first spray it and there's still that lingering presence of the alcohol, you're like, okay, perhaps this isn't that bad. But once it actually settles and everything comes to life, it's like, why? Why did somebody do this?
It almost kind of hurt my nostrils a bit. I'll give it a solid 3 sniffs. Why not? Oh my gosh.
You know, so the thing is, like, people have asked me, like, why did you buy it? Right. And so
that's the question.
So I do find it to be a novelty scent, and it's always interesting when people come over and it's like I show them the extremes and the end of the spectrum. But I think the real reason why I bought it is because Henry Bendel was doing away with their fragrances, and I bought this for like $20-something. So I was like, listen, for $20-something for a novelty scent, you can't turn that down.
I wouldn't spend any more on it than that, but I can definitely justify that price.
Yeah.
Especially for the brand. But I mean, yeah, you got to give it to them. They accomplished what they set out to do. They are not trying to hide anything. If you're looking for a fragrance that smells like you in the most raw forms, you'll find it here. But no. And I got to say, I think it was worse than I expected, which doesn't happen often. That was worse than I expected.
Well, that can either be a good thing or a bad thing.
To me, it's both. I'd say it's good because I wanted to know what it smells like just for myself and my own reference.
Yeah.
And now I know. And it's an experience that can't be taken away from me. I can't say I'll try to relive it anytime.
I respect that.
Yeah,
I respect that.
I'm glad that I know.
Cool, man. And I was really happy to introduce you to some fragrances that you haven't tried before.
Yeah, Stephen, really, really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
I know.
Really
Thank you for the
appreciate it.
opportunity.
Oh.
Thank you for having me on your channel.
Oh, my pleasure. And if you guys don't already know Stephen's channel, what are you doing? But just in case, we'll put it down in the description. Check out his link. He just crossed 100,000 subscribers, so congratulations.
Thank you.
It's a huge milestone, especially for as long as you've been doing this. It's been a lot of work. I don't even know how many videos you have at this point.
1,165, yeah.
Exactly. So that's, I mean, for those of you that maybe have not done this before or made a video, to have that library of work, all those hours, that is so much time. Filming, setting up the studio, whatever it may be, editing, getting topics together. It's so much time. So I just want to extend my appreciation for that.
Thank you.
I think it is well deserved. So
I love it though. It's a labor of love.
Yeah.
And I know you agree.
I totally agree. Even with stuff like this.
Yeah.
So it's all fun. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. See you in the next one.
Bye.